What is going on, guys, and welcome back to Touchdowns to Home Runs. My name is Bernie. Thank you for joining us today on the Touchdowns to Home Runs show. Hope that your day is going absolutely fantastic. Now that the NBA draft is officially completed, the Raptors can officially start piecing together their team and looking forward to what should be a very busy offseason. So today we'll be breaking down everything there is to know about where the Raptors currently stand now, and then some of the things to look out for, again, moving into that very interesting offseason. Just before we do get into the video, as always, guys, if you do enjoy today's content, make sure to let me know. Smash that thumbs up button, subscribe to Touchdowns to Home Runs for more content just like this. But anyways, let's get right into it. And I thought first we would start with a very quick draft recap, just so that we're all caught up and on the same page. Of course, everybody knows that with the fourth pick yesterday, the Toronto Raptors decided to go the route of Scottie Barnes, the 6'9", 227-pound forward out of Florida State University. The first thing that I want to say about this pick is I was very upset at the beginning, but I think and this is really similar with a lot of other Raptors fans, that it's sort of grown on me. And I think a lot of the emotions that came at the time of this particular draft pick was just more so in that I was shocked that the Raptors didn't go Jalen Suggs, because really for the majority of the time after the draft lottery, it was Jalen Suggs, Jalen Suggs, Jalen Suggs. And it was so almost set in stone for everybody that I think, yeah, it was just a huge surprise. But there is a lot to like about Scottie Barnes. He's a two-way player, mega athletic, has strength and speed, and that combination, which essentially nobody else in the draft class had. Handles the ball well, is a very solid passer for a combo forward with intriguing defensive potential and versatility. High energy that he plays with. He's also a team-first guy. I think he's going to be a fan favorite, no doubt about it, for the Raptors. And even though he does have a lot of flaws, I think he can be an immediate bench impact player for Toronto next year. The one thing which everybody's going to talk about is the inconsistent shooting in terms of both percentages and his overall shooting motion. This is a guy who at the NCAA level last year only shot 27.5% from three, 62% from the line as well. But I think that's definitely something that you can develop. And when you got a guy with this high potential, it's definitely worth, again, taking a look at this player. I'm not necessarily upset the Raptors went this route. In terms of the second round, it was a bit more confusing to me. You had Cooper, Boston, Bassi, all available, who I thought could have been amazing for the Raptors. But they decided to go the route with 46. They went small forward Banton out of Nebraska, a guy with a huge frame, 6'9", actually very similar to Scottie Barnes in a lot of ways in terms of his play style, but also a bit of a project. Something interesting about this pick, he was actually the first ever Canadian player drafted by Toronto. And then at 47, they went the point guard David Johnson out of Louisville. I actually really like this pick. I always talk about in the second rounds, love higher upside guys, because it is so difficult to hit on sort of those big potential players in the second round. So why not go with the guy who's had former first round potential and did pretty good at the NCAA level. He's definitely got some pretty good size for a guard. I think he's like 6'4", averaged 12.6 points per game last year, 5.8 rebounds, and 3.2 assists. So I actually like pick number 47. Now moving on, Raptors moving forward, the first one, and I think the biggest thing that people are going to be talking about is now the implications on the Kyle Lowry situation. Because coming into the draft, my standing was, and this was assuming that the Raptors had Jalen Suggs slotting in as a replacement for Lowry, was that there was about a 65 to 70% chance that in some way, either Lowry straight up walks or the Raptors sign and trade Lowry, but in some way he would be gone by the start of the season. But two things happened yesterday that sort of changed those percentages, in my opinion. The first one has nothing to do with the Raptors, but of course Westbrook got traded to the Lakers. And the Lakers were thought to be one of the higher suitors for Lowry, or one of the more likely suitors for Lowry. And now assuming they would be out of the point guard market. And definitely the Lakers got to work within the cap now. So that makes a sign and trade especially a lot tougher, but there were also rumors that he could potentially just walk straight to the Lakers, meet up with DeRozan. That's a rumor that's been going on lately, so I think that's a lot less likely, of course, now. But of course, you drafted two guards in the second round, but no Suggs in the first round, which again, not a bad thing, but I don't think Malachi Flynn or Fred VanVleet is the right guy at point guard for the Raptors. I like VanVleet a lot more at the 2. I think Malachi Flynn right now still needs to develop a little bit more. But I do think he's got a bright future. But again, I like him as a backup guard. So I think the biggest implication of not drafting Jalen Suggs is that the Raptors now are going to be more involved, especially in the free agency and trade market in terms of going out and acquiring a point guard. Now, in past videos, a guy that I've really mentioned is a guy like Dennis Schroder. 2020, 2021, averaged 15.4 points per game, 5.8 assists, 3.5 rebounds. Did a great job for the Lakers last year, but the Lakers won't need him back, so he's going to be available in the free agency market. Another guy that would be interesting is Lonzo Ball. I heard these rumors escalate yesterday, and for the Lonzo Ball doubters out there, just give me a second to explain why I think this is a great fit. Last year, he averaged 14.6 points per game, 5.7 rebounds, or 5.7 assists and 4.8 rebounds, had an increased three-point percentage to just under 38% and a field goal percentage just under 50%. What I like about Lonzo Ball is he has a lot of similar characteristics to why I would have liked Jalen Suggs in Toronto, and I think that Lonzo Ball would be a perfect transition guy if Lowry does leave. Improved shooter with a high basketball IQ, great passer, great facilitator, fairly good rebounder for the position as well, and in my opinion, definitely one of the upper end point guards in terms of his defensive ability. I think Toronto could definitely use, if Lowry's not back, could use a two-way caliber player, and I think Lonzo Ball is definitely transitioning into that as he continues to get his shooting percentages up. I want to talk about the center situation for just a second. Raptors, I thought they would take a center in the second round, add a bit of a depth to the 5. I don't think, well, obviously they didn't do that, but now I think this becomes their biggest priority of the offseason, addressing that 5 issue. The first thing, of course, is re-signing Khem Birch, who in 19 games last year, just under 12 points per game, 7.6 rebounds, 1.9 assists, 1.2 blocks. Definitely a guy that I like the Raptors to re-sign, but I think better coming off the bench. So that being said, I like a guy like Richaun Holmes in free agency. If you haven't watched my center targets video for the Raptors, go check that out after this video. But again, just over 14.2 or 14 points per game at 14.2, 8.3 rebounds, 1.6 blocks. A guy who's not a huge name, solid defending center who does enough offensively for the Raptors, can put up double digits, and he's affordable. Will be in the contract range of about $10 to $15 million. So again, go watch that video if you haven't already once this video is over. But I think the center issue is now definitely the priority to look out for in the offseason. Another move, and I wanted to touch on this quickly before we wrap up the video, Gary Trent Jr. The only reason that I'm talking about this in this particular video is because a couple of days ago, apparently there was some NBA executive that came out saying that he thought the Gary Trent Jr. contract would be right around $20 million. Now, Gary Trent for the Raptors last year averaged 16.2 points per game, and there's no doubt about it that what Gary Trent does offensively, especially given that he's only 22 years old, is sensational. And he's got some work definitely to do defensively, but Gary Trent Jr. is definitely a guy that, in my opinion, you want to bring back to the Raptors. I do hope that the contract is in the range of more like $15 million, and I think it would be really interesting if, let's say, a team puts down an offer in that $20 million range, what the Raptors choose to do moving forward. So that being said, this roster and sort of the outlook for the Raptors, I think the most likely starting center would still be, I guess, Lowry, especially with no Suggs here now. But watch out for guys like Lonzo or Schroder moving forward into this upcoming offseason. Fred VanVleet at the 2 OG and Pascal at the 3 and 4 respectively. I like Richaun Holmes slotting in at that 5. And then off the bench, that leaves you still with Malachi Flynn, Gary Trent, Scottie Barnes starting off the bench, of course. And then Chris Boucher, Khem Birch, hopefully he returns. Now, of course, some of this is theoretical. I think the Raptors will be in some of the bigger players or in the market for some of the bigger players this offseason, at least just testing out the water. But I think, you got a very solid core. I think the Raptors are a piece or two from being to the mid to upper part of the Eastern Conference, and that's really without any bias. So, again, we'll have to wait and see. I think this will be an extremely busy offseason, but I want to hear your guys' thoughts, comments, predictions down in the comment section below. Once again, if you guys did enjoy today's video, please smash that thumbs up button, subscribe to Touchdowns to Home Runs for more content just like this. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again next time.